I have a very special guest with us today. What is this guest? An egg. A pretty egg, says Barb. It's an Easter egg, in fact. See that egg there? Look at that. What do eggs have to do with Easter, you might ask? It's a good question. Initially, nothing. Before Christians came around, eggs were a ubiquitous symbol of new life and fertility. Makes sense, right? But then they started to be associated with Lent and Easter, and here's how it happened. During Lent, which we talked about at the beginning of worship, people would fast. They would abstain from eating certain foods. One of these foods was meat, one of these foods was dairy, and another was eggs. They didn't eat any eggs. And this was a way that they could be mindful of the Lord during Lent. A way to think about God in a special way was to not eat these foods. Well, here's the thing. Even if you don't eat eggs, did chickens stop laying eggs? No, they keep laying them. So the eggs would kind of build up. And before they had fridges, they would hard-boil the eggs to keep them from going bad. So then what would happen when Easter came around? You had a lot of eggs. The humans know about this. They have lots of eggs all the time. So they have a lot of eggs, hard-boiled eggs. So on Easter, when the fast was over and they could eat these foods again, they would make these fancy dishes with the hard-boiled eggs, or they would just eat them as is. And there's symbolism. They would also dye the eggs, like this one here, and there would be symbolism attached to the colors even. And one of the colors that was very popular was red. This is as close as I could get. I know it's a little pink, Dave, but it's as red as I had. I didn't have any Easter egg dyeing kits, so I just had to paint it. And why do you think red was important? The blood of Christ. Nancy's got it. It symbolizes the blood of Christ, which gives us new life. So, the color had meaning, and then when you would crack the egg to open it and eat it, right? That would have meaning too. That was symbolizing the opening of the tomb when you would crack into the egg. So we're going to crack into this egg just a little bit, so we don't want to make a mess. And I need a helper. Who would be a good helper to help me crack into this egg? Tommy would be a good helper. Tommy, welcome to St. John's. It's so good to see you. So I need something to crack this egg on. Could you get a hymnal out? All right, and could you balance it right there because we don't want to, make a mess. Are you ready? All right, let's crack this egg. What happened, Tommy? It's empty. Well, almost, right? There's a little bit here. That's okay. We'll wipe that up. That's all right. That's okay. April Fool's, Tommy. The egg is empty. So actually, I was supposed to smack it on your head, so I'm told. But I didn't do that, all right? See, I'm a nice pastor, so you can come back sometime. There it is. There was nothing inside. Well, what good news for that hymnal, right? Otherwise, it would have been mess. How many people did April Fools this morning? We were like, no, Pastor. We had to get up early and come here. How many have done April Fools in their life? Oh, okay. A little bit more people have done that. I thought about it, but I thought, I won't do that to Dave. Not on Easter Sunday. So I am not the April Fool's person in my household, as you can maybe tell. My brother always was. My older brother Ben. He was the April Fool's guy. And he had a joke that he used every year. And you wouldn't believe this, but he got us pretty much every year with the same joke. And this is how it would work. We had a spigot, our kitchen faucet had a little sprayer attached to it. So when you did press the button on the sprayer, the water comes out through the spraying nozzle, right? And if the button isn't pressed, then it comes out through the spigot. And so what he would do is the day before, April 1st, he would put a rubber band around the sprayer and make sure it was facing forward, like right where the person would be when they would go to turn on the faucet. And so then in the morning, when you're in the middle of your routine and you're trying to get ready for work or school or whatever, you would go to turn on the water and you get a face full of spray, right? Wonderful. Anybody else have some good April Fool's jokes that they've done over the years? Nobody? Yeah. It was not an actual sponge cake. That was mean, wasn't it?
It was deserved.
It was deserved. Okay. Anybody else have an April Fool's joke that they've done before? Toothpaste and an Oreo. Yeah, it's poisonous, so they say. You know, those killjoys. But I had a 4th grade class. I wasn't part of it because I was always a good student. But I had classmates who filled Oreos with toothpaste and they put it on the teacher's desk like, here's a nice treat for you. And boy, did she get angry. She was most upset. A rubber snake. There you go. Lovely Fool's jokes. So how do you feel when somebody pulls an April Fool's joke on you? What's your first reaction? Revenge! See, that's your first reaction, okay. My first reaction usually is surprise. This was not what I was expecting when I went to turn on the water. I was expecting it to come out the spigot. And now here it is coming out the spray nozzle. What would the next reaction then maybe be? Angry. Well, everybody's jumping to that one. I think my next reaction would be dismay. My clothes are wet. My face is wet. And then, angry. Wait till I get a revenge, right? Gonna get even with this brother of mine who does this every year. Yes. Well, in some ways, this is not unlike the feelings that the women had at the tomb. Here they are in their morning routine, right? Going to the tomb to care for Jesus' body. They're talking about how they're going to get the stone rolled aside, everyday morning chit-chat. They're just going along. Now, if it was truly April Fool's that day, if anybody deserved a break from April Fool's jokes, it was these women. What they had been through these past couple days, right? Their friend and teacher, this person they loved had just died, a terrible death, shameful death. And not only that, but they had expected him to be the Son of God, to usher in the kingdom. And now he's dead. And so they go to the tomb, and they look up, and what do they see? The stone is rolled aside already. Well, that's curious, isn't it? So they go inside. And where Jesus' body is supposed to be, nothing. Then I think would be dismay, right? What have they done with his body, our friend? How will we pay respects to him now that we don't have his body? And then they turn, and what else do they see? A man in white. Now in Mark's gospel, it doesn't specifically say this is an angel, but he's definitely a messenger. And when they see this man in white, he tells them something. He tells them that Jesus is no longer here. He is raised. And that they should go to Galilee and share the good news with the other disciples. And Jesus will meet them there. Now, how would you expect them to react? All along during this gospel, Jesus is doing miracles and healing people. And each time he does these amazing things, and people want to tell others about it, he says, no, keep it quiet. Don't tell anybody about me. And now finally, they get permission to share the good news. And what do? They're silent. They're afraid. Can we really blame them? No, we really can't. After all they've gone through, and then this terrible, awful joke on Easter Sunday morning just interrupts their routine and totally sets them off kilter. But the question in their minds, of course, is, what does this mean? Jesus is no longer there. The question is the same for us today. What does this mean that the tomb is empty? What does it mean for us in our lives every day? Well, two things come to mind for me. One, Jesus is alive. He's alive. And death has been defeated. Just like in that reading, the first reading, where God holds this wonderful feast and he swallows up death for dessert. Jesus has swallowed up death. It's been defeated. And then number two, God is on the loose. He's no longer contained in Jesus' body, in that old tomb, or new tomb, I guess, right? He's out there. He's no longer just in here. He's in the world. And now the question is, how will we react? God just sprayed us in the face. And our clothes are wet. And our face is wet. And our hair, which we carefully arranged for Easter morning, is wet. What are we going to do? Are we going to go just, put some new clothes on and get back into our routine? Or have we been changed? Will we share that change, that transformation? Because here's the thing, folks. It says they were too afraid, right? And that they were silent. But somebody must have said something somewhere along the line, because here we are today. And this is, I think, Mark's point. These women were afraid to say something. But what are you going to do? Are you afraid? Or are you going to share the good news? You have those handy little cards, hopefully, that I handed out, or that rather the ushers handed out. You can share the good news using that. And in about a million other ways you can share the good news. Not just with cards, not just about St. John's. Think of all the ways you can share the new life, the love of God with others. This is the Easter message. Go and tell. Amen.